Thank you, Duncan. Now that we know what to look forward to in terms of tech and what role it plays in businesses of the future, we now begin our power panel composed of distinguished Philippine tycoons who will share their insights on the revolutionary change in the Philippine business landscape. COVID-19 has put a dent on the business performance and operations of many companies. But after a year or so, some of the Philippines' biggest companies are proving themselves resilient. With us today on how they're adopting and adapting business models to shepherd growth and success in the next normal, Lance Gokongwei, President and CEO, JG Summit Holdings Inc. Bernie Lu, Chairman and CEO of the Pen Shop Group. Al Panlilio, President and CEO, PLDT Group. Christopher Poe, Executive Chairman of Century Pacific Food Inc. Kevin Tan, CEO, Alliance Global Group Inc. And Joseph Tanbuntiong, Chief Business Officer, Jollibee Group. Well, very good day, gentlemen. It's quite a group. We're quite well represented today from telco to retail, food to banking, airlines to hotels, property to petrochemicals. The pandemic has certainly brought with it economic damage, but you've all managed to recover in varying degrees as you drove to innovate. So Al, what ways do telecommunications empower businesses and enable them to adapt to change today?
Hi, good morning, Kathy. I guess first of all, I'd like to thank the fellow panelists who are here today, Lance, Kevin, Chris, Joseph, and Bernie for being here. Maraming salam. Thank you for joining us in this one. Well, as you know, Kathy, telecommunications has empowered business. No, it's been quite lucky that connectivity now has become a basic human right, and we're able to connect. We have to connect every Filipino individually and through their businesses. No, and everybody stays at home, works, studies, and also entertains themselves now at home. So connectivity plays a huge role in terms of where we are today. Actually, last year, when at the time that we got hit by the pandemic initially, the BPO industry actually was very they were affected in a big way because they had to find connectivity for their agents at home so that they could they would be able to continue their business. No? So we've had to also transform as a telco to be able to really address the demand that was there for connectivity, and we were trying to make sure that it remained to be strong during the height of the pandemic.
So in that sense, Al, how do you see the group taking the lead in propagating a digital lifestyle going forward?
Well, actually, we are an enabler for digital transformation for almost any industry and any business at this point. No, I mean, for example, in terms of, I guess everybody does everything online, either transacting business or selling goods or ordering goods and also paying. No, so fintech through Paymaya has been very critical in the digital payments. And it's we've also been able to find new ways for customers for us to offer products and for customers to consume products through digital connectivity. There will be more technologies down the road, IoT, robotics, AI. I mean, all these things will help business in the future. So it is our role as a telco to continue to innovate and hopefully continue to offer these services to our customers.
It's quite exciting, a lot of applications down the line just because of technology. Brick and mortar retail had been hard hit as a result of the pandemic's mobility restrictions, Bernie, but here you are with the flagship Pen Shop brand crossing over its 35th year. So congratulations, Bernie.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone.
I mean, you've been through several crises since. How does this pandemic then compare with the rest, and how are you overcoming those challenges?
Well, I guess 35 years in the business gave us a little bit of an edge in terms of having gone through multiple crises in this past 35 years, but none close to what this pandemic is really hurting all of us. Well, I guess the mobility of our customers were obviously gravely affected and reduced. So since we could not expect our customers to be in our stores, we brought our stores to our customers. So I guess this pandemic really changed a lot of how we had to operate as a company. But perhaps allow me maybe to share that we didn't really do anything new other than to amplify what we were already doing. When the pandemic hit us, Kathy, we had to just ask the team to focus on the three C's. First, my colleagues, well, in this case, our customers, our employees, then our community, as well as our customers. And from there, I think we were able to channel all our energy and resources to just focus on these three. So our colleagues, we had to make sure that they are able to work from home, and that entails a lot of connectivity. We had to communicate to our colleagues, to our employees, what was really happening. To our customers, we brought our stores to our customers. We shifted a lot to online shopping. And to our community, obviously, we had to help our vendors, our suppliers, in the community where we do business. So that was important. So those were the three umbrella things that we did.
Right. So we can say you were prepared for the worst. And the pandemic just affected not only retail, but even the restaurant industry. That was hit hard too, Joseph. I mean, what were the biggest challenges that your company faced, and what learnings can you share?
If I may greet everyone the Jollibee way. Jolly morning, everyone. Thank you for having us. Indeed, it is really a big challenge. As mentioned, it's unprecedented. And that for us, number one would be safety. As we know that, as you know, the heart of our business in Jollibee Group is our people. So our number one priority was the safety and actually the well-being of our employees. So promptly, we allotted a 1 billion peso fund, emergency fund for our employees. Obviously, we have to adjust our work arrangement. And so we set up the work from home and noted on that, yes, thanks to the connectivity that allows the working from home to be effective and efficient. For our employees who had to go work on site, we make sure that we have the safety protocols in place. We provided the PPEs, and we actually provided a regular supply of vitamins to boost the immunity of our employees. And I really commend our leaders across the organization that in this setup, the engagement is really a challenge, and that our leaders really reach out to our employees to have these programs, keep our employees connected and highly engaged. And now we are rolling out our vaccination program. We call it the hashtag Job for Joy. On the other side, aside from safety, it's really the speed as a challenge. As we know, there are a lot of changes, a lot of shifts, and it is the challenge is how fast we can adapt. And so on the customer side, we've seen the shift from on-premise to off-premise consumption. And so how do we, what are the pivots that we need to do? And we did a lot of initiatives on that one. Then the other one is to go digital.
That's a lot to go with in just over a year and a half. Let's just stay on food for a moment. And on Century Pacific's canned products, Chris, it's a visual we probably will remember for some time. Consumers stockpiling on your products at the onset of the lockdown. You've got tuna, sardines, meat, powdered milk. They flew off the shelves last year. And how is that carried on this year? And what has continuing mobility restrictions meant for your restaurant business?
Hi, good morning, Kathy. No, so this year is a little different from last year. Some people are calling this situation like we're in now a K-shaped economy. So what we're seeing this year is even if most of our products are essentials, our business in the Philippines is actually flattish vis-a-vis last year where we were up like 25%. No? So what I mean by the K-shaped sort of recovery is that the brands that are catering towards the high end of the market, the affluent end of the market, are doing well, but those towards the mass end of the market are actually either flattish or contracting, and that's even if our products are essentials. No, so what's really bringing up our overall business? We were plus 8% as of mid-year this year. Is really the OEM part of the business which was growing like 35%, because it's geared towards the US and Europe, where there's actually a reopening going on. So you asked also about the restaurant business. We are probably at around 60 or 65% level of business activity vis-a-vis 2019. So it definitely the restaurant industry, as Joseph mentioned, is very hard hit. But having said that, I'm glad to say that we're afloat even at this level. We are making sure that our costs are managed, and actually in this environment, similar to what Joseph mentioned, we've taken this opportunity to really pivot towards off-premise. We've doubled down on our digital investments, and actually in this environment, we're also trying to seek opportunity. We continue to build stores, open stores. There are locations that are opening up that previously would not have been available. So this year we plan to open 30 plus new stores. No? So I guess they say there's a silver lining in every cloud. So we are trying to make the best of the situation.
Picking up on that silver lining and the key innovations, you make a mention of off-premise and the digital innovations. What do you see sustaining the momentum into the coming year? Because when you look at your latest results, I mean, you've already seen double-digit net profit growth in the first half this year.
So I guess that question is more for Century, So our three main pillars, three main business pillars, we call the 3 M's: marine, meat, and milk. Historically, pre-pandemic, the fastest growing part of the business was the dairy business. That's the business where we're the challengers, and we were actually growing 40% compounded year on year for the last 3 years before the pandemic. But we thought that milk was actually an essential item. Sad to report that in an environment like this where consumers are really hurting and they're going back to basics, they're dropping milk off their shopping lists, and the milk category as a whole is contracting. So what's really helping our essentials part of the business still stay at the levels they are is really the protein, the marine and the meat part of the business that are still seeing some positive growth. So for the balance of the year, as I mentioned earlier, the OEM part of the business, where we're geared towards markets like the US. We're the largest coconut water producer, one of the largest coconut water producers in the Philippines. That business is growing like north of 30%. The reopening in Europe is also helping our OEM tuna business. So those are helping us grow even in this environment. So I guess the whole point there is it helps to have some diversification in the portfolio.
Indeed, and that includes the overseas markets. Let's move on to the conglomerates, Kevin. You're in a whole lot of businesses: real estate, infrastructure development, spirits, leisure, entertainment, hospitality, quick service restaurant, and I know that you've had to recalibrate your entire business model at the height of the pandemic. So how is that paying off so far?
Yeah, it's still been overall for AGI. It's still been quite challenging. Although, we have been seeing improvements since the start of the pandemic on a quarter-on-quarter basis. For the first half, though, we're fortunate that all of our business segments are actually on positive territory. But obviously, a lot has changed in how we operate our businesses, from how we conduct our headquarters operations all the way to our frontline operations. All the way to how we produce our products, from the manufacturing sites here in the Philippines and abroad, down to even how we construct our buildings and our developments. All of that has been severely disrupted, and severely changed, right? Because of all of the restrictions that have been imposed. Also, we found it quite, both a challenge and now an opportunity in how we now connect to our customers. Obviously the traditional retail channels have again all been restricted and disrupted. So we've had to find new ways to get to our customers. For example, even like selling condominiums. For the greater part of the pandemic, there was hardly any face-to-face contact, but nevertheless, we were able to manage. In terms of our business portfolio, I think some of the bright spots that we are seeing are in the property sector, especially here especially with the BPO sector, which continues to grow resiliently. We also see quite a lot of demand for our residential products, mostly our horizontal and some of our vertical products, especially those outside Metro Manila, in key cities, and surprisingly also in key tourism estates like Boracay, Tagaytay, and Antipolo. But I think if you look at our entire portfolio, the real stellar performer there is really our Emperador business. I think that without a doubt is the most resilient of all of our businesses. It's the business that continued to grow even through the pandemic. Locally, though, our brandy business grew very modestly because of and this despite all of the liquor bans. Of course, I think it could have been much better. I think there was a higher demand, but all these restrictions really limited our growth here in the Philippines. But globally, I think that our business globally has really taken center stage. We are actually present in 100 countries, in 6 continents, most especially our whiskey business, White and Mackay, has grown in a lot of our key markets, Europe, US, and especially Asia and China. We've launched several new single malt brands, more mid-price brands to suit our European markets. But there seems to be a resurgence in demand for single malt, and we're seeing that in the US and in China. Single malt is actually a product that can be consumed both at home and outside, so it's very resilient. And we're looking forward to better growth here in Asia for that product.
So Kevin, essentially it's finding new opportunities as you found new challenges. You've discovered new segments, new businesses within the existing businesses. And pretty interesting, you made a mention of spirits, for instance. You've already got your coffee flavored brandy, and you've also launched your delivery apps. You've got a REIT IPO, as you've made a mention of how interesting the property market is, the BPO-focused property market, and a secondary listing for Emperador on the Singapore Stock Exchange. So could you just encapsulate for us what new reality did you see in customers that led you to these opportunities?
Yeah, we've seen a couple of really interesting things during the pandemic. Again, first, I'd like to highlight again these new digital connections that we have established with our customers. I think new habits are currently forming. Part of this shift might be permanent and part might be semi-permanent, but I think clearly new channels have opened up. Secondly, during the pandemic, we have reaffirmed really the strength of our township model. During this time, we saw a study done in Europe at the height of the pandemic for this movement called the 15-minute city. So essentially, they're looking to replan cities like Paris and Barcelona, and looking to put people living within 15-minute walking distance from where they work, or their essentials, or for medical services, etc. We've been we're very happy to know that we've been doing that for the last 20 years. But I wouldn't say that they copied us necessarily, but this does reaffirm really, the strength of this vision that we've had, and it's kind of emboldened us to continue the good work. Thirdly, through the pandemic, we have been motivated to continually accelerate our product innovation. Yes, you mentioned our coffee brandy, our very new coffee brandy. This is an innovation that we have co-created with our Bodegas Garvey's, one of our distilleries and companies in Jerez, Spain. And lastly, I guess on a lighter note, I'd like to say we've also through this pandemic seen how incredibly obsessed Filipinos are with K culture and K-pop, the likes. Because I mean, case in point, one of our partners, McDonald's, launched two Korean-inspired products this year, and I mean, everyone was going wild about it. People were dancing online, even, and I think this has helped, boost sales a bit during those months, no, to compensate for a really tough 2020. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that I'm one with my fellow food industry colleagues here in this forum that it's still incredibly challenging right now to operate with these restrictions in place. And I really wish and I really hope that these restrictions get tweaked a little bit to favor our industry more. But I guess, any chance to make our customers just a little bit more happier during this pandemic is considered, I guess, small wins for us.
Yeah, it is. It is challenging, no doubt, and glad to see that you're all smiling more than a year after. Lance, I know that you've got your own recovery game plan going at JG Summit. How are you taking that on? Because you're in food, airlines, banking, property, petrochemicals, and you swung from losses in the second quarter.
Yeah, I think our business portfolio, a lot of them were consumer-facing businesses, whether they be in airline, malls, or retail, no? And clearly, we were severely affected by all the mobility restrictions as a result of COVID. But I think the team has really been very aggressive in ensuring five things. First is the health and safety of our staff and our customers. We believe that you have to start with the people, and if you take care of the people, they will take care of the business. The second is really all about supply chain resiliency. I'm very proud to say that even in the start of COVID, March, April, May, when a lot of the things were still unclear, we were able to keep all our essential stores, all our pharmacies, all our supermarkets open and continuing to serve the customer. We also kept all our vital food businesses operating, as we know that a lot of our products, especially coffee, noodles, these are really the basic essentials of a lot of our countrymen. And Cebu Pacific, even though there were travel restrictions, we were available to fly our kababayan back and essential cargo all during this time. I guess the third aspect we had to focus on was really building up the balance sheet, ensuring that we had the balance sheet to get through a period of unknown length. Now, so we made sure that we strengthened the balance sheet and we did all the necessary austerity measures to ensure that that this business would be in a position to invest in the right things moving forward. The fourth part that we did was really focused on preparing for the new normal, and I would say that's the bulk of the activity now, preparing for the new normal, or already diving into the new normal, which is really a much more, as everyone has spoken, a much more digitized world in terms of customer acquisition, customer contact, delivery channels, payments. These are all going to be affected and all centered around the mobile phone. And the fifth thing that we focused on was, of course, continuing to focus on helping our country, helping our community recover from COVID. We are all interconnected. I guess the country cannot recover as a whole unless we get all our countrymen, as many of them, vaccinated in the fastest possible time. I think in our small way, two of our businesses have been partners with the government here. Cebu Pacific has flown over 17 million vaccines into the country since the start of COVID, and now we're using over 30 of our malls as vaccine sites for in partnership with various LGUs. I would say over 500,000 fellow Filipinos have already been vaccinated in Robinsons Mall sites. So as you can see, I have to say it's been really a very, very difficult business environment, but I'm very confident that this too shall pass and that we will come back in a very resilient manner.
And yeah, that requires preparation for that new normal that you described, accelerated by innovation with the center focused on the customer. Businesses shifting from reacting to the crisis to reinventing products and services to respond to the evolving needs of the customer. So Al, we've been in this pandemic for more than a year. How is the group continuously innovating business models and processes to grow in the next normal?
I think as all the leaders here in the room have said, no, I mean, I think there is a changing environment, and what we have done, I think in a way we're a bit lucky that we're the only integrated telco in the Philippines. I mean, last year I guess mobility wireless business will be doing very very well, but as these lockdowns continue to happen, there's less mobility, and as people lose jobs, there's less affordability in terms of mobile business. Now, we're still growing, but not as great as last year. But our home business, which is your fiber connectivity at home, is showing 23% growth year on year because everybody now is sharing connectivity at home. As PLDT Smart, and I know Lance and Bernie know this, we've spent a lot of capex, especially this last 3 years, no, over 200 billion. We're about to close this year, maybe close to 90 billion, because we continue to roll out our fiber backbone nationwide. We have over 530,000 kilometers now of fiber. We are 97% covered in terms of LTE coverage for our mobile. We launched our 5G service, and as I hear everybody in the room today, really doing everything on the mobile phone eventually it is here today, but even grow. We will grow even further as we move forward. And once mobility is back, I think the mobile service will be very very critical. No? So we're investing in 5G. There are a lot of use cases that are not yet developed in 5G, especially in I think 5G will obviously from a consumer point of view, more speed, more video, e-learning. Even teleconsulting mobile will happen, but I think there will be bigger applications in enterprise. We have actually closed one big deal with ICTSI in terms of 5G case study on ports and how they can use 5G technology in the ports. So that will continue to increase. So we've really expanded our capability to serve our customers, to serve the requirements of not only consumers but big businesses like leaders in the room today. And we also continue to look for opportunities. One great opportunity we're looking at is the hyperscaler segment, where I think there's an opportunity for the Philippines. I think this is the second coming of the BPO. Many years ago, BPO companies came to the Philippines. Now what we're looking at is expanding our data center business, and we have partners in retail. I think we will have to have more space. We would need more space, Kevin, Lance, in terms of putting the data centers. But really, with the geopolitical issues in Hong Kong, China, the Philippines has a great opportunity to become the next transit hub for the region. So we, the likes of Amazon, Microsoft, FB, Facebook, we want to bring them over here and host them here, so that they can also not only host local the local market but the regional market. So again, from a PLDT standpoint, continue to really drive connectivity. I heard that the whole morning in terms of the need for connectivity, and we want to be the major player in your own digital transformation. We want to play a big part in that initiative.
And carrying on from that point of view of the digital transformation, Bernie, you'd been well ahead of that digital transformation. You were already online even before the pandemic. So it would appear that constant reinvention has always been an important part of your business, and it's all in the family. Your children play key roles in the business. Brian, for one, leads the e-commerce and business transformation office. So how is that dynamic of second generation and third generation leaders coming to play in reinventing the customer's shopping experience?
Well, my son joined the company, I think, as a trainee 7 years ago. And it's good to have the younger generation join us because they bring in a lot of fresh perspective a company that is been in the business for 35 years needs a lot of new blood, and they bring in a lot of insights, and they themselves being our consumers. So as I said earlier, we didn't really do much other than to amplify. And one of the things that we had to refocus was really to look at how our customers were behaving during this pandemic. And one of the key principles we have in this company is to remind everyone of the 4 R's in retailing, which is the right product at for the right price, given at the right time and at the right place. Now, innovation allowed us to amplify all of this, because during the pandemic, of course, people were not shopping, so we had to shift and pivot to more health and wellness products. And in doing so, it allowed us to offer to the market the products that our customers actually needed during this time. But creating the right products through the product development team is only one dimension. We had to make sure that we are able to price them right. And this is where I think a lot of efficiencies come into play. Innovation and the way we do things played an important role. But again, there's the 3rd R, which is to make sure that these right products that are priced rightly are brought to the stores or brought to the right place. Now, this is where I said earlier that we had to bring our products to our customers. And this is where the pivot of online is. Prior to the pandemic, our online business was a measly, 2% of our share of business. At the height of this pandemic, we're looking at about 15% of our total business now pivoting towards online, and it continues to grow. And that is possible because, again, prior to the pandemic, we had a bit of a platform already, but we had to amplify that. And the younger generation really, and in this case, my son, really help and accelerate a lot of these things. And bringing, since the place now is no longer physical stores, we had to go then virtual. So that addresses the 3rd R, which is the right place. But then again, you have the right products at the right price, and you are able to bring them to the right place. What about the right time? And this is where I think our modernization of our fulfillment and distribution center comes in. Prior to the pandemic, we've invested on a new and modernized distribution center. And unfortunately, we were supposed to go live prior to the pandemic, but the pandemic hit us. So all my foreign consultants, the Australians, the Austrians, the Germans, the Chinese, the Malaysians, they could not come to the Philippines. And this is where connectivity came in, because for the first time, and for many of these companies, global companies, they had to do our implementation virtual. So for the past 12 months, all the implementation of this huge modernized distribution center, complete with robotics, had to be done virtually. So we are now on the final stages of being able to do so, and we continue to do it successfully.
That, in a nutshell, is that amplification that you're looking for into the next normal.